Did you require a ventilator?
Yes, I did. I was extremely hypoxic, so they only allowed on a regular floor a nasal cannula, and at 5 liters, I could not make 90% O2 saturation.
Wow.
And so they put me in the intensive care unit. I had a double pneumonia, which I had no idea that I even had. I've never had lung disease, never pneumonia, never asthma, never smoked cigarettes, so I had healthy lungs. But this virus took over both my lungs, and in 3 days later, I had severe respiratory distress, and they had to put me on a ventilator. And it actually worsened in 3 days and fully bloomed. And that's when they decided they had to intubate me. I knew it was my only chance for survival.
It's scary.
Very scary, very anxiety provoking.
How long were you on a ventilator for?
3 days, and they monitored me for another 2 days in case I needed intubation again. But I held my own on 100% non-rebreather mask. And then from there, they sent me after 2 days, because I was able to maintain 90% on that. They sent me back down to the floor, and I filled nasal cannula, which was the only thing I could have in a room that wasn't a negative pressure room. So and I was physically exhausted from trying to breathe and maintain 90%. So they put me in a negative pressure room, and I started venting mass at 50% O2. And over a week and a half, they weaned me down as I could tolerate it. By this time, I haven't eaten in 9 days. I could not get out of bed. I couldn't walk 4 feet to a bathroom without oxygen and help. And this is where I want to say the healthcare providers were amazing. They were there for me. The nurses' aides, kindest people. The other thing I think about is how grateful I was at a hospital that could take me into an intensive care unit and actually intubate me, because there were a lot of hospitals that ran out of respirators and intubation. I will tell you a story about my colleague at Kings County. There was an 80-year-old gentleman who was quite sick and needed to be intubated. The man said to my friend, "Don't intubate me. This 45-year-old man next to me needs to be intubated, and I know he's not next, but I've lived my life." That man died. That man died that night. So, healthcare workers have come down and gone home with these stories and have to live and remember them.
When you spoke of this 80-year-old gentleman, my hair stood up. This is what we call America's greatest generation. And the level of sacrifice that these people are accustomed to is staggering. And that gentleman showed it in his final act. But you're right, when it comes to the healthcare professionals, when I talk to my friends who are working on the front lines or EMS workers, the level of sacrifice is just staggering. And I don't know how we can ever repay that, but it really is something that, I hope people recognize, and I hope people think about that when they think about some of the decisions that they make in terms of potential for spreading this virus further.
I just want to say it was very humbling being a patient. I will never look at another patient who has oxygen on the same way I did before this. I was on oxygen for over a month and a half, maybe a little bit more. It was very, very hard. And I am very appreciative and very grateful that I am getting my health back.